Hello everyone, it is me, GamePang21, and today we're going to be taking a look at this little video here by one Harman Smith. Now, a couple things before we get started, of course. Number one, I hope all of you had a nice happy holidays. I'm not sure when this video is going to be released. It's probably going to be my last video of the year. I wanted to just take a break for Christmas because there was things that I was doing, and yeah. This is also the second time that I'm recording this, so the reason being is that I recorded it at like 1 a.m. in the morning last night, very quickly, and then just went through the editing process and went through the audio and was like, no, I can do better. So, yeah. Thirdly, you might notice that I have a new microphone. Yes, that is correct. I bought a new microphone, the Hollyland wireless microphone, so it should sound a little bit better, and you shouldn't hear me like fiddling with the microphone as much. I'm not sure I'm sure if I drop it, like it'd be whatever, but it's a better microphone, better quality, so I don't have to do too much editing, so it should sound more crisp for those of you who were complaining about my audio. And lastly, for the person's 15 minutes of fame, whoever the fuck commented that I'm not original on my YouTube Shorts. This is your 15 seconds of fame. Sir, you do realize that I am a commentary YouTuber, meaning that I don't always do the most original content, and of course this is also YouTube where everyone's copying from everyone else. And if you're saying that I'm a clout chaser, that means that I am trying to ape other people. It's like, yes, obviously people are trying to do that. Everyone does that all the time. But in short, no, dude. I did that shorts because I didn't want to make a video on it, but I just wanted to acknowledge it for those people who are wondering, oh, when are you going to make a video on this? It's like, no, I'm not going to. I just wanted to make that short. So, yeah. And also, again, not a clout chaser if I'm adding my own personal spin, my own personal gameplay, and other things. I'm just covering a topic that other people are covering. That's it. That's fine. And sure, you can call me a clout chaser for covering that and saying, like, oh, yeah, that makes you a clout chaser. It's like, everyone's doing it anyway, so either you get on board and you like my content, or you don't and you fuck off, and I don't really care. In any case, let's get into this video. Wow, this intro is very long.
Hello everyone, this is tOtALy of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I the Dragon, Cool and Beautiful Rabbit Hole Lore and Fray, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. So a lot of people have been talking a little bit about the decline of Xbox Game Pass. Now, I was talking about this at the height of the shilling for the product. I hated Game Pass. It was pure shit from the beginning, and I really detested how there was a good chunk of game journals pushing this as the next big thing, how it was like supposedly this really good deal, when in reality, like, games were getting rotated in and out all the time. Like, $15 a month was way too steep of a price, and like the service itself is just.
I love how he tries to use this as like an argument. Again, all the things that he just basically said was that this Xbox Game Pass is on the way out for the fact that a lot of different factors there, and then just lists them all off haphazardly style. Now, I usually say, like, oh, I like this argument because it's very easy to tear this one apart for several reasons. We'll get into the reasons as to, like, oh, it's too expensive later, because he does actually end up disproving himself with something that he says later in this video, so I'm not going to get into it now. But I like how he says that, oh, you have to do all this other stuff, and that it's on the decline because of the fact that sales might be down. But again, he doesn't provide any solid sales numbers yet. We'll get into that again. But just keep in mind that this guy is a Nintendo fanboy and is on that copium huffing forte. So this is Harman Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
Not all that desirable, right? Like, you're better off just buying the games, essentially. So, I tried Game Pass. I had a poor experience with it, and I kind of suggested the product would be the end of Xbox, right? Like, my prediction was always that, like, Nintendo Switch Online would eclipse it, and now, a couple of years later, I think it's been like when did the shilling campaign pick up? Was it like 2019, 2020? It's been a while, but now that the service has been stagnant for the past couple of years, for the past 2 years, it has not like had any significant subscriber growth at all. Microsoft seems to be having some reservations.
I will say that Microsoft is having reservations about where things are headed, but not in the same vein of like the reason because of Xbox, like Game Pass. And again, bear this in mind that the sales are supposedly quote unquote down. When he talks about the sales numbers later, again, keep all this in mind. Put a pin in it for a later date. Now, again, it's not like he's again just trolling here. I'm going to assume that he's not, because he's just like all over the place, and this is the kind of content that he makes. I'm just saying, like, it's really, really stupid to assume that he it was bad. Sorry about that. Just checking something. It's really weird to assume that he in turn isn't trolling now, because again, his whole shtick is Nintendo stuff. And him saying, like, oh, Nintendo Switch Online was going to eclipse it. Like, again, Nintendo Switch Online can't eclipse itself, because it's, in turn, not the best deal, but it's, like, an okay deal if you really want to get in. It's, no. Just no, dude. It's really not that hard.
About where things are headed, right? Like, there isn't going to be, like, a sudden surge of interest in this product from anyone new, essentially. Like, plenty of people are unsubbing. I unsubbed, and plenty of people will like never subscribe to begin with. Like, I think it's stuck at 30 million units, 30 million subscribers, and a lot of those subscribers are becoming increasingly underwhelmed by the product. Well, not just the subscribers. Like, the big thing that's changed in the past couple of years is that like Call of Duty has been acquired by Microsoft. So Call of Duty being on Game Pass is actually a net detriment to Microsoft. Now that they own the property, now that they own the IP, they don't need to like keep it off of
Okay, so while he collects his thoughts here, let's break down his argument. Firstly, Microsoft doesn't own Activision Blizzard yet. They are in the process of having it reviewed by the FTC and yada, 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 government bodies and whatnot. And it's going at a fucking snail's pace. But they are willing to fight for it, as we've seen from the actions that they are currently taking. So no, they don't own Call of Duty yet. Next up is that the Call of Duty being a net detriment to the Microsoft. How the fuck is it a net detriment to Microsoft? Do you know what else was in that same context would then be a net detriment if you really want to extrapolate out this argument? Fucking Minecraft, one of the best-selling games that they bought for like what, $30 million, like $1 billion, something like that. They bought it for like millions, all right? And it's still on every platform. And guess what? Minecraft is a fucking money printer, at least in terms of how much money and like all the stuff that they buy. Yeah, certainly there's microtransactions and stuff in like Bedrock Edition, but still they make a lot of money off of the sale of Minecraft. And I myself, this was all before Minecraft was bought out. At least no, I don't think so. Maybe no. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like not really. I've bought Minecraft like 5 times, but again, all that money goes to Microsoft, and all that it goes towards making the game function. And again, yeah, it's a similar aspect with Call of Duty. It's not the same thing because Activision Blizzard is more of like a publisher, but they bought them out, or they're in the process of buying them out, and that's just like saying that it's a net detriment to put it onto Game Pass, is I think his argument. But even still, like, that's not really true, because if they're stuck at 30 million, if they're stuck at 30 million people, which, by the way, if you say that it's at $15, using your arguments against you, $15 times 30 million people is around 450-ish million. Just in people renewing their fucking subscription services. And that's like a monthly income, meaning that if a person does it for like a whole year, for $15 a month, which again includes like Xbox Live and whatnot, which not everyone's going to do. So this is like a very generous estimate. But at $15 a month, making with 30 million people, you are making around $450 million monthly. This is monthly per person paying. So don't even talk about like yearly income. Then you have to times 450,000 by like 450 million, 450,000. Why the fuck did I say that? 450 million by like 12 months out of the year. And fuck, you have like, I don't think you'll hit 1 billion quite yet, but you might be getting on like that very, very close estimate. Again, that's just doing the math in my brain. I don't know too much on that. But again, that's just talking about financials. And again, you're saying that it's not profitable. Like, certainly they have to pay for like the servers and stuff, but server infrastructure isn't as expensive as people like make it out to be. I mean, yeah, certainly for business level stuff, absolutely, that stuff can get stupidly expensive if you really wanted to know. But at the same time, like, what the fuck's the argument? Like, it's weird how he can take Xbox hitting 30 million concurrent users in their subscription services, or how he can take like PlayStation breaking records and breaking sales, and can take Steam and the PC market and just spit out these sales numbers and say this is all stupid because Nintendo's the best, and this shows, and all this evidence that I have presented is 100% the reason why the game industry and these companies are failing. Like, how can you look at 30 million concurrent people paying monthly for a subscription service for around $10 to $15 each, making millions of dollars collectively, and say that that's a failure? Like, I would love to know your logic of how that fucking happens, how that fucking works. Please tell me.
People don't want to pay for Xbox games anymore. Like, hardcore Xbox fans are typically paying like the $15 a month for Game Pass, and then playing whatever comes on the service. Like, digital sales in Xbox tanked because of Game Pass. Like, sales in general on Xbox are down because of Game Pass, and it's like Xbox is just bleeding money left and right. And the fact that people are suddenly starting talking about this makes me think that Game Pass is on the way out. Like, 3 years from now, I'm seeing people say Game Pass will be done.
I mean, in 3 years from now, again, Sony can take a go up. If you want to play whataboutisms right now. I did this last night with someone else who was really, really drunk. And we were just going back and forth. He was like, I can just fucking run shit. And I'm like, all right, cool, bro. And again, I love the guy. He's like a friend of mine, that gave me opportunities, and that I'm not dissing him. I love you, bro. But sometimes you might need to just not be a little drunk. However, my whole issue is, again, the fact that you're saying all of this while, again, there are 30 million people paying monthly for this, and you're saying that the sales of stuff is down. I've only seen stories where the sales of those games are up. Not only that, again, they transfer out the content much like Netflix. So sometimes if a person wants to keep a game because they're playing through it, or it's a multiplayer game and they want to keep that game for a while, they can buy it. They can buy it through the service. They get a 10%, 15% discount ish off of the I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but they get a 10 to 15% discount on the games to buy digitally to keep forever. To not use the service or whatnot. And again, that's a good business strategy. They put both the option to rent the game as a demo, or just to rent the game you're renting it from Best Buy or whatnot, or Best Buy, Blockbuster, if anyone, just fucking date myself there. Or you can buy the game outright, which again is really, really effective in the sense of replacing that stuff. It's one of those things where it's like the I guess since I used the example earlier, it's like the Blockbuster mentality, where Netflix comes along and they're like, hey, we'll do this and we'll do that, and we're gonna do this a little bit better. And then Blockbuster comes along and says, why the fuck would we do that? Because we're making all of this money. And they didn't adapt to it. I always think that Harman Smith is much like Nintendo, in that the sense that while Nintendo is very forward-thinking in knowing what they want to do, and they want to do their own twist and their own spin on things, Harman is that Blockbuster mentality, where everything that is this way for the one company is the way of the future because of the fact that it's been around for years and ever since, and won't fail for that reason. And that's not, again, true. Anything can fail given enough time. Time erodes away everything, blah, 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 blah. Philosophy and whatnot's garbage. What I'm saying here is the following. The Nintendo Switch Online, whatever the fuck you want to call it, isn't necessarily going to be the end-all, be-all. And Nintendo isn't going to be the end-all, be-all in terms of anything. Well, not in terms of anything, but not in terms of video games, I should say. And in short, no. I don't think that Xbox is on the way. Xbox Game Pass is on the way out. I think a good concept is the this was brought up in like a recent Thrill video that I just remembered, where it's like the thing to do with the new market strategy, where it goes up at initial hype and then it goes down into like a depths, saying like people when things are dead, and then it just kind of goes into reasonable expectations and kind of plateaus off. I think at this point in the Game Pass life cycle, we are looking at that settling of expectations to kind of try to level off at that point. So I think that that's where we're kind of sitting at least as of right now. I know that I myself canceled my Game Pass subscription, but that's only because I couldn't access it on my PC for whatever reason, and I don't know why. So that's more of like a practical thing. I would love an Xbox Game Pass subscription. I played it a little bit when it still worked on my PC for whatnot, for one reason or another, and it worked flawlessly. It was really cool. And I think I posted a little bit of the gameplay on this channel. Anyway, don't want to get too long out. This video's going long enough. Let's get back into it.
As we know it might like evolve into something else. Microsoft might axe it entirely, but what I expect is going to happen is that like Microsoft is going to have to surrender the console war. Like that's kind of what we're seeing, is that like Microsoft and Sony are in this like precarious position where essentially both of them are doomed, and nobody really wants to admit it, especially in the case of PlayStation. But like, you know, I talk about PlayStation all the time. I talk less about Xbox because I have less experience with it, but there's no denying that both Sony and Microsoft are the reasons video games have been trash.
What? This argument has always confused me, because it's like the second time that I'm watching this video, but this argument's confused me even to now, where he's like, they're the reason why the game industry sucks for the last 20 years? 20 years. Seriously? Like, what the fuck? I mean, again, if you're talking about like since 2000 and whatever, like you're talking about like 2000s, that's kind of stupid. And the games haven't all been that garbage since 2000. There's been some that have been more trash than others, but that's not to say that they've all been like that. It's dumb of you to assume that that's what the problem is. It's just stupid. Now, let's just say, for the sake of argument, for the sake of simplicity, that you are correct. Why the fuck is it that games are on the decline when they are those game companies are on the decline, when earlier again in this video you said that they now owned Activision Blizzard, meaning that they recently purchased it. They've recently honed up the money to do that. Again, if you've been following these stories, you will know that that money is around $70 billion, which is a lot of fucking money. And this is coming off of the heels of the Bethesda acquisition, which cost $3 billion. Again, billion with a B, not with an M. It's so funny to me how you can look at these companies making these huge-ass purchases, slapping their money on the table, saying, "Gib," and just being like they're on the decline. Businesses spend money and however the fuck they want to spend money. It's not like it's unimportant to whatever the fuck reason that you're trying to make. But in short, no, sir. I don't think that Xbox or PlayStation are on the decline, really. They're in precarious positions in the eyes of like certain consumers, maybe. But overall, they're doing just fine. I would say that Nintendo is technically in a more precarious position than the other two, because while Nintendo themselves has like really good sales and stuff and whatnot, I would say that they're in a little bit of a more precarious position because, again, as I've covered in like a previous video on their console is starting. Their console of the Nintendo Switch is while not on the way out, at least not that I can be aware of, it is less powerful than other console systems, and it is again starting to kind of show its age, at least a little bit.
For the past 20 years, right? Like, they are the reason video games declined the way they did, in the way they did. And the fact that nobody else but me seems to point this out is, like, embarrassing. Like, Game Pass was a terrible idea to begin with. It's like, if Nintendo had done it, actually, with the Nintendo Switch Online service, Nintendo had a superior alternative and got shit on for it. Like,
Nintendo had a superior alternative to Game Pass. Yes, the small library of Nintendo exclusives that you can only download digitally and can't actually purchase from the stores is a good alternative to a storefront that gives you a rental service that also has over 300-ish amounts of games that switch out pretty regularly, so it's always having fresh content, and has first-party games that will release day and date, and you can also purchase it through them digitally to allow you to get the games and keep them even if you were to discontinue the service at a reduced price to that thing. Again, to just do the math for one person to make that entire thing worth it at the $10 tier, it's around $120, meaning that it's about 2 new AAA games that you play in that time frame, 2 new ones that release on the platforms within the year to make it equivalent to a breaking even value. Anything on top of that is like that. I've touted this for the amount of time that the Xbox has been around for, or the Xbox Game Pass has been around for. So yeah, 2 games a year, most people are probably going to see that as a win. Anything on top of those 2 games, and I'm talking about 2 new AAA $60 games in terms of pricing, gives you a break-even value. Anything on top of that, any indie games, any $30 games can definitely be like seen as extra cherries on top. And again, if Microsoft starts to release games for it, guess what? It's going to become a very desirable service very quickly for people who want to buy games for cheap. It's why Steam keys, like reselling businesses, are still profitable. It's why Humble Bundle is very profitable. It's why other sort of selling websites that sell like these codes and digital stuff, all of those things are still popular for that reason.
It's embarrassing to see people flip-flop on the Game Pass service so much. So many people were shilling this thing. So many people were hyping it up as the next big thing. To see it like fail is exciting news to me. I am very, very excited to see what the future has in store for gaming once Xbox and PlayStation are out of it.
Alrighty. Well, fuck this. Just fuck this. I'm out of clever now. It's weird to me, again, how he can see these companies doing better and reporting on the better everything in terms of revenue, in terms of sales, in terms of like literally all of their assets and things, and say that they're going to fail. And once that they're out of the picture and Nintendo is dominating the market, will be, doing good. I think that in terms of this, Nintendo, again, would have made the industry fail. I think that the only reason that Nintendo is still around is mainly because is kind of because of nostalgia, not mainly, but kind of because of nostalgia, but also because they add a uniqueness to the gaming industry, in the sense that they do their own thing, and they're not competing on the same level as Sony and Microsoft are, at least not as of right now. They could change that in the future, not likely given their pattern of behavior, but they are essentially doing their own thing and carving out their own specific niche of the market. And I'm not saying that Nintendo is bad, because again, Nintendo was one of the reasons why the gaming industry is still around today, because they came in and basically swept up the entire competition when there was no competition at the time. But in short, I don't think that Xbox Game Pass is on the way out. I don't think that in terms of PlayStation is on the way out. And again, I would say in terms of the online subscription services of the big three, Xbox, Sony, and PlayStation, that's the same company, fuck, Xbox, Sony, and Microsoft, fuck, Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo. My brain is not functioning right now because I'm lost the brain cells to this guy. But Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo, all three of those companies all have their own subscription services. And of the three, I would say that Nintendo has the worst. PlayStation has the second best and competes alongside Xbox Game Pass, which is still very and vastly superior to the other two in terms of features and other stuff. That's not to say that the PlayStation 1 is bad, it's just worse because it doesn't have as many things. It's like comparing, again, the Steam store in some aspects to it's comparing the Steam store to, say, Epic Games. It's the same concept, but just executed in a very different thing with certain features that just don't matter and don't help it sell. Again, that's not to say that either is bad, because again, Report Media, like, people to bring him up in a weird way. He says that, like, oh, there's just the reason why it's like blah blah blah. Anyway, I've been rambling on enough. I'm very tired. I need more caffeine in me and drink more gamer subs. But yeah, anyway, I'll leave you with that. My name is GamePango21. This video is another pile of hot garbage that we have to sift through today. I am the Garbage Man, and a peace off.